morning, everybody. Welcome into the Wealth Guardians radio program. I'm Doug Ray, and with me is Bryce Payne, as usual. How you doing, Bryce?
Doug, I am doing well, thank you. I've lost a little bit of weight over the weekend.
You did?
I did. I lost about 20 bills to you.
Oh, you know, we played so badly in that second quarter and third quarter. And we're talking about the East Carolina Central Florida game. I'm not even going to take your money. I mean,
yes, you are. Well, so folks, I gave Doug a 24.5 point spread on his Pirates, and with 19 seconds to go, and Central Florida leading by 27 points or something like that. Well, wouldn't you know it, that the Pirates had to go and score one field goal and lower the spread to 23 points. So, Doug.
Oh, geez.
Here is, go ahead and take it. What we are looking at here, folks, is about 6 months or so ago, we placed a $20 wager on the Tiger Woods, Brady, who else? Peyton Manning.
Yeah.
And was it Mickelson? Who was it?
Mickelson, yeah.
Yeah. And so Doug owed me $20 for that, and he paid me in jars and bags of old pennies. So I did you a favor, actually, though, Doug.
I'm getting it back.
You're getting it back, and here it is all right here. But I have categorized everything for you by year. So you didn't have that. So now you've got it all categorized. There you go.
Bryce, you never cease to amaze me, buddy.
Well, hey, before we get started on today's show, Doug, like we always do, let's give a tip of the hat, a nod, a salute to everybody out there who puts on a uniform of some kind, even the health workers out there. These are not easy times, and we know you're making sacrifices for the greater good. And we want you to know that here at the Wealth Guardians radio show, we are thinking about you. We appreciate you and your family and everything that you guys put on the line for us. And Doug, you served as well, so thank you to you for your service in the Navy.
You're welcome. Today's show is
what are we talking about?
Social Security.
Social Security.
Because
it's one of our favorite subjects.
It is, and we're finally about to do a live workshop on Social Security coming up in just a couple weeks.
It's been a while. It's been February.
It's been the end of February since we were able to hold a live event, and we are excited, looking forward to it. These Social Security workshops, I think, have helped hundreds of people over the years we've been doing them. And I would encourage everybody to come out and take a listen. Let me give you the dates. Thursday, October the 8th, Tuesday, October the 13th, and Wednesday, October 14th.
Just have to attend one of these.
Just one, and we're doing 3 of them because we still have to do the socially distanced thing. You know, we'll definitely take precautions like CDC says. We'll have you spaced out. We can only have like 25 people at a time. That's why we're doing 3 workshops.
We normally do 2.
Yeah, so we can consolidate. It's 6:30 each night at the Broyhill in Clemens, North Carolina. So come on out and let's talk about Social Security because we've had several situations over the years that have come up.
Before we get into the case studies, where can they go online if they want to register?
You can go online at our website at www.thewealthguardians.com. There is an events tab. Click on that, and then you can register right there for whatever night you want.
And if that's not your thing, you can always give us a call as well, 336-391-3409. We can get you registered that way as well. Joy or Lynn will take care of you. 336-391-3409. Okay, so Doug, Social Security, what do you want to talk about specifically?
You know, one of the things I want to talk about is everybody realizes you can start your Social Security benefits as early as age 62. And that generally is not the best time for most people to start their benefits. And over the years, what we've been able to determine is that a lot of people do it at 62 because they need it. And that's one good reason to start at 62.
That's a legitimate one.
But the other reason is they're worried that the Social Security Administration is going to run out of money and they're not going to get their Social Security benefit. And that's just not going to be the case. And I also want to address an ad that Vice President Biden has going on right now because I think it's deceiving. He is saying that the GAO has computed that the Social Security Administration is going to run out of money by 2023 based on current events. So let's step back and talk about that. I think everybody realizes that the Social Security Administration is funded via payroll tax. So is Medicare. You pay and your employer pays into it. Well, by executive order, President Trump stopped the payroll tax. Now, what is the GAO is doing is they're saying, well, this is going to be indefinite. Well, it's not going to be indefinite because it's a stimulus measure. You know, if you can keep more money in your pocket, you're going to spend it, and that's just going to grease the wheels of the economy. So I don't want people to hear this ad and get concerned that they're not going to get their Social Security benefit. You will. In fact, the next administration is going to have to actually do something to fix it. And the fix for Social Security isn't that hard. You know, right now, they stopped taking payroll taxes for Social Security out once you go over a certain income level. Well, they can expand that level. They can go up. I think it's, Bryce, remember what the cap is? Like
128, something
128,000, like yeah.
So if you make more than that, say that you make 150, well, that last 22,000, they're not taxing that for Social Security.
Yeah, and Medicare, they tax an unlimited amount. So they could change that. That would go a long way to helping the Social Security deficits. The other thing is they're thinking very seriously about extending full retirement age. Right now, it's about 66 or 67 for
depending on when you were born.
Depends on when you were born. I could easily see them making it 68, 69 even.
It was 62 when it first started?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, that was their full retirement age back in the 20s.
Yeah. So Social Security is not a hard thing to fix. Now, Medicare and Medicaid, on the other hand, they are very difficult situations to fix. But let me tell you why you ought to come to the workshop. We've had, over the years, some really good real-life case studies. I've told about the divorcee who, this was during the 2008 Great Recession. She had just been laid off, and she didn't know anything about divorce spousal benefits.
Heard that one before.
Yeah, and sure enough, she was eligible for a divorce spousal benefit that helped her get about $1,100 a month at a time where she critically needed it.
Yeah.
And then, you know, the spousal benefit itself is something that a lot of people don't even know. We find out, about 50% of folks know about it, and another 50% never heard of it.
Yeah, that's about right.
So spousal benefit's a great way to pick up some Social Security benefits for the household while the primary earner is delaying taking their benefits so they can pick up those delayed credits.
You know, there's literally, for a married couple, hundreds of ways to file for Social Security. If you've been divorced, there's even more ways on top of that. Or if you're a widower, there's even more ways to file. And oftentimes, I don't know if that I can say majority of the time, but oftentimes there is a way other than the basic filing for your primary benefits right off the bat is going to be more advantageous for you in the long run. Well, if this is not a field that you have studied and are familiar with, I wouldn't want to task an ordinary individual with trying to figure out on their own how to file for Social Security so that it's most advantageous for you. That's why you would want to talk to somebody who is certified with the National Social Security Association, like we are, and who are familiar with the ins and outs and all the different ways to file. And plus, we have the software to back us up and help us figure that out as well.
Yeah, and you know, like I said, there's a bunch of ways to file for spouses, a married couple. There's no, I guess, one perfect way, but
there's not.
You have to really take your Social Security benefits and apply it to a retirement plan to get it right.
Yeah, that's very true.
You know, you just can't go and say, "Hey, I'm 64. I want to get my benefit."
Yeah, my neighbor filed for his at 64. He and I live in the same neighborhood, so therefore we're probably pretty similar. I'll go ahead and file for mine at 60. That's the worst thing you can do.
Well, yeah, because you might even forget about the earnings test. The earnings test exists from 62 to full retirement age, meaning that if you're still working and you make over a certain income and you file for your Social Security benefits, you're not going to get it all.
Nope.
They're going to take some away, so you'll find that out at the workshop too. Again, let me repeat the workshop dates and time. Thursday, October the 8th, Tuesday, October 13th, Wednesday, October 14th, all at 6:30. at the Broyhill in Clemens. So you can call us at 336-391-3409 to register, or go on thewealthguardians.com and the event tab at the top. Click on it, and you can register right there.
And you do have to register, folks. We would love to be able to tell you can just show up, but that's not the case. We do have reserve seating.
It's limited. Remember, CDC rule says 25 right now, so we can only do 25 folks per workshop, so you got to register.
Very good. All right, Doug, well, we're going to be moving to a break here in just a minute, but folks, as I always do, I break out a trivia question to go into break. And, Doug, this one is going to make us feel old.
How many pennies are in this 20?
Right. This one's going to make us feel old. 60 years ago this week, this iconic cartoon debuted in September 1960. We are all familiar with this cartoon. You could go Saturday morning onto whether you're ABC, CBS, one of those networks, and you could probably still find this cartoon playing. It only aired for 6 years. And I'm going to give you a clue because I know there's a lot of cartoons. But 1960, holy cow. I didn't know that they even had...
That was 3 then.
I didn't even know they had crayons at that point. It was... The main character was modeled after Ralph Kramden.
Oh.
So we will go into break, folks. Think about that. We'll give you the answer on the other side. What cartoon started 60 years ago this week, and the main character was modeled after Ralph Kramden?
Interesting.
And welcome back to the Wealth Guardians radio show. I'm Bryce Payne in Chair 1. Next to me is Doug Ray in Chair 2. And thank you for sticking around through the break. Glad you're with us today. Hope you're having a good early fall weekend. Doug, I know you are. I am as well, playing yet another tournament today. This one's a charity tournament for, it's called Discers for Whiskers, and it's a charity tournament for the local SPCA. So,
how cool is that?
Yeah. It's looking forward to it. Last week, so I was in a tournament last week over at Yadkin. It was grueling. I had never felt so depleted physically at the end of those, 38 holes that we played. And it's up and down. I think I was probably trekking about 6 miles through the woods at the end of that. It is tough. So this one's not going to be that bad. But anyway, so folks, if you're just now tuning into us, we are the Wealth Guardians. We are retirement specialists operating on the fiduciary standard. And if you are approaching retirement, even if you're 5 years away from retirement, and you haven't yet sat down with a professional advisor, preferably one working on the fiduciary standard like we do, and you are not 100% certain that you are properly aligned for retirement, then I beseech you to give us a call, 336-391-3409. Again, 336-391-3409. Give us a call, and let's set up a time for us to go over, give you a second opinion on what you're already doing, and let's make sure that there is no unplanned or unforeseen obstacles in your way for living out the type of retirement that you want to. It's a holistic approach. There's no cost or no obligation for it. It's what we do day in and day out, and we would love to sit down with you as well. So again, 336-391-3409. Now, before the break, I asked Doug a trivia question, and this not only makes Doug feel old, it makes me feel old, which is saying something. 60 years ago this week, this iconic cartoon debuted in September of 1960. You were how old at that point, Doug?
I was 3.
Wow. All right. I was 13 years later from that. Or no, I guess 11 years later from that. And I gave you a hint. It was modeled, or the main character was modeled after Ralph Kramden. Well, Doug, who is Ralph Kramden?
Well, he was a character on, was it Jackie Gleason?
Jackie Gleason in the show
Honeymooners.
The Honeymooners, correct. Yeah. This cartoon was based off of that show.
Well, when I was 3 and 4 and 5 years old, I would get up every Saturday morning and watch these cartoons. I've got 2 guesses.
Okay.
My number one choice would be the Flintstones.
You got it.
Okay. I was going to say the Jetsons or the Flintstones.
Well, right. Yeah, the Jetsons would be a good guess, too. That came out a little bit later, I think. But yes, not everybody knows that the Flintstones were modeled after the Honeymooners, and Ed Norton was Barney Rubble.
Yeah, yeah.
So
one of my favorite cartoons, by the way.
It was great. Yeah. It was great. Oh, I love the Honeymooners, too. Yeah. That was always fun. They couldn't put that on TV today, though. But
Alice to the Moon.
We are talking now in the second segment. We are going to be talking about the retirement income certified professional certification that, Doug, you have had. How long have you had yours?
Oh my gosh, 7, 8 years, something like that.
Took you about a year and a half to study for it?
About a year.
Okay. So I just got mine.
Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you very much. I don't know how it happened, but apparently I passed the test. I never go into tests particularly confidently, but I always seem to pass them. So I am now certified as well, so that's both of us. And so I thought it would be interesting to bring up a couple of things that I learned, and I'm sure that you learned this as well. Maybe you already knew them before, but if you took the RICP, you knew it. You know it now. Some takeaways from this course. This is a course that if you're getting advice from an advisor on setting up your portfolio to be properly allocated for retirement, this is a great certification to have, or for whoever you're talking to have. So the first thing that I learned here, overall encompassing, I always knew that it's a good idea to start planning for retirement a couple of years out. But this really solidified in a few ways why it's a good idea to start planning at 59, whether you are planning on retiring in 1 year or 10 years. Start planning for your retirement at 59, and here's why. MAGI.
Okay.
Modified Adjusted Gross Income. The reason that is important, you have to set up accounts so that when you are in retirement, or when you are now eligible for Medicare Parts B and D, you want to make sure that you are withdrawing, or that the income that you are drawing on is affecting your modified adjusted gross income as little as possible. Well, why would that be? Because there are different tiers for your premiums in Medicare Part B and D. And if you're taking all of your income from IRA accounts or non-qualified accounts, then you are probably in a higher tier than you need to be. So if you years earlier have set up something like a life insurance policy that you'll be able to take loans or withdrawals out on, if you've got you've converted some of your IRAs to Roth monies ahead of time, you have to do that some years in advance. You can't just convert and then turn around and make withdrawals the next year. You have to do that in advance. So if you're doing these types of planning a couple of years before you file for Medicare, a couple of years before you file for, or before you retire, then you're in a much better position to be in a lower tier for Medicare overall. Doug, your thoughts on that?
Another reason to be mindful of MAGI and order your income to make your MAGI as low as possible is MAGI is a part of the calculation for provisional income, which is a part of the calculation that will determine what level of Social Security taxation you may or may not get.
Yes. Social Security can be taxed at two tiers, 15% or 85%. And so you would obviously much rather have only 15% of your Social Security taxed rather than 85% of it taxed. So it's another good.
You know, that course I thought was so great because it brings out a lot of detail in this planning. I'll never forget back when I first got into the business 32 years ago, income planning was basically just selling off some stocks when you needed income. That was it.
Yeah.
That's all we did.
Yeah.
You know, maybe have some dividend income, maybe some tax-free bond income in the mix, but that was about it.
Yeah.
Yep. So
pretty simple.
Good stuff, Bryce.
Well, very good. Let's move on to the next one, kind of tying into that. How applying for reconsideration works. So if you are now filing for Medicare for the first time, let's say it's 2020, you're filing for Medicare, you're 65. Well, in order to figure out what tier you're in, they look back at your 2018 taxes, not your 2019, because it's not there yet. So then obviously not the 2020. So they're looking back 2 years at your tax returns. Well, if you were working 2 years ago, but you're not working today, then you obviously would be unduly forced into a higher tier. You're paying a higher premium for your Medicare benefits than you need to. So you can apply for a reconsideration that says, look, the income I made 2 years ago that you're looking at is not the income I'm making today. And additionally, the difference in those two incomes would knock me down to a lower tier. Somebody will look at that and say, either agree with you or not agree with you. And so that is a technique that you can use to also lower your premiums for Medicare as well. And so we went kind of into the whole thing about how reconsideration of applying for that works to lower your MAGI. Moving on to a next topic that we talked about, reverse mortgages. Now, I know there's a lot of misconceptions about reverse mortgages out there, and we don't do reverse mortgages ourselves, so we don't have any skin in the game on this. But I will tell you that using reverse mortgages, particularly in the right way, is a key aspect if you need income in retirement from some source or another. And what I learned, well, I've known that for a while, and Doug, we have referred some people in various situations to go talk to a HECM or a reverse mortgage specialist lender. And what I learned, though, is the most common way that reverse mortgages are used tends to be as a last resort later on in retirement. That is actually the least effective way for a reverse mortgage to be used. A more effective way, or what's through all the studies that have been done, the most effective way for a reverse mortgage to be used is earlier on in retirement, and you take withdrawals from that in years when your investment portfolio is on the low side. If you just take withdrawals out of your investment portfolio while it's down, it's harder for it to go back up. But if you take withdrawals from your reverse mortgage loan, which is basically just cash during those low years, and let your portfolio alone so it can grow back up when the market goes back up, that is the most effective way to use it. So while we've known about reverse mortgages, I was not aware that a majority of the people use them in what happens to be one of the least effective ways.
There's a lot of ways to skin a cat in this game, folks. And, Bryce is right. You really need to seek advice from a professional who's specifically trained in retirement planning. And to get you there, let me remind you, we're actually doing our Social Security workshop live and in person coming up in a week or so. Let me give you those dates. Thursday, October the 8th, Tuesday, October 13th, Wednesday, October 14th at 6:30 in the evening, all at the Broyhill. We will be going under CDC guidelines. That's no more than 25 people per workshop. That's why we've got 3 of them scheduled. We will have social distancing, and we will give you a bottle of hand sanitizer when you come in.
Complimentary.
All right, Bryce, what's another one you learned?
Okay, so we're going to kind of tie 2 together here. There are a lot of different retirement allocations that have been studied. And there are a lot of different withdrawal strategies that have been studied as well. So there's 2 different things there. A lot of different portfolio allocations and a lot of ways to withdraw on that. And there's Dr. Wade Pfau has done a lot of research on this. He's probably the foremost authority on this particular subject, and he is a statistician, and he is very smart and has run all these numbers. And this is something that I found interesting. The typical portfolio out there for a retiree is stocks and bonds. We know this. That's, if you were to poll everybody, that would be the most common retirement portfolio, is stocks and bonds. The most common way to withdraw from that portfolio is with what is called a constant inflation adjusted measure. So you take out the same amount every year, but you're raising it for inflation. So you don't adjust what you're taking out based on what the market has done or what your portfolio value is. If inflation's gone up 2%, then you go up 2% the next year with it. So a stock and bond portfolio with a constant inflation adjusted withdrawal method.
Perfect.
As it turns out, that combination is the highest failure rate for a retirement portfolio. Failure, and there's different ways that they measure. He measures failure as well, but we won't go into the depths of all that. But it means that your money is going to run out before you do.
That's every retiree's biggest fear.
It is. It is one of their biggest fears is, they're coming to us because they want to make sure that they've got enough money to last them. And I just found that interesting, that the most common type of portfolio with the most common type of withdrawal method is the least set up for success out of all the different ones that have been studied. So that is another huge takeaway for us. So folks, if you think, hey, that sounds like my portfolio and I don't like the word failure, I might want to call these guys. Doug, our phone number, 336-391-3409. Again, 336-391-3409. Other than that, folks, we do thank you for sticking around through the show. Hope you learned something there. We'll see you next week here, and hope to see you as well at one of our Social Security seminars coming up. Not webinars, seminars.
Live and in person.
You have a good weekend out there, folks. Take care.